Welcome back to the Stack Shack Sports Show, wrapping up the AFC South with the Tennessee Titans. It's the Will Levis show. I'm honestly very excited for the Titans. I don't think they're going to be very good, but they should be fun. It's always fun when you see a new quarterback. Can he play? How will they do? It's going to look a little different, right? No Derrick Henry, no Azeez Al-Shaair on the defensive side, and they lost their center too. So going to look a little different, but they brought in some pretty cool pieces. Calvin Ridley comes in division to steal him away from Jacksonville. I think that was a brilliant move by Tennessee. A fantastically productive wide receiver, the number one receiver for the Jags last year. Give Will Levis some weapons. Let him sling it around. I think it's a really good fit. They also bring in Tony Pollard to try and make up for the loss of Derrick Henry. Very different back, in my opinion, so that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Last season, they were not very good, right? 6-11, 19th PFF offense, 28th on defense, so they really needed to get better on defense. Now, they do bring in Awuzie over from the Bengals to try and help shore up that back end. What's interesting is they also brought over Tyler Boyd, a wide receiver from the Bengals. Why I think this is so fascinating is the Titans have a new head coach this season. I didn't put him on the key additions because we mostly focus on players there. But they do. They have a new head coach, offensive coordinator from Cincinnati coming over. He's got a history of working with Burrow and other young quarterbacks. So they bring him in to try and uplift Will Levis. And he brings over a couple of Bengals players. I think that was a very interesting kind of storyline to look at. Can they shore up the defense? That's going to be a main, concern of theirs. Again, 28th ranked. That's almost last place, right? There's only 32 teams. So, first-year head coach, first-year pretty much starting quarterback for Will Levis, right? I think the most important game is going to be week 1 at the Bears. Go to Chicago, play Caleb Williams. That one's just going to be fun. Again, two teams I don't think that are going to be that great. I don't see anything super special out of Will Levis. He did play a little bit last season, and again, they were 6-11. I didn't see anything that jumped off the screen to me. But a new head coach going up against the Bears, new quarterback. It's going to be a fun week 1 matchup. I think that's maybe one of the underrated week 1 matchups. We got some big marquee game. Like Chiefs, Ravens, and these title contenders, Super Bowl bubble teams. But if you're looking for a game that's, not necessarily Super Bowl bubble teams, maybe not even playoff teams, but should be very fascinating from a storyline perspective, I think week 1 at the Bears is very interesting. You'll notice all my important games are against young quarterbacks. And I think that's really what the Titans are needing to test. If Will Levis is not competing at a Mahomes level, it's okay. We don't necessarily need that out of year 1 of him, really year 1 as a full starter the whole season. But week 6 versus the Colts, him against Anthony Richardson, right? Another young quarterback duo, and you're going to be able to compare if you're a Titans fan and you're the Titans coaching staff. These are the games you're going to compare. Okay, I have a young quarterback. How does my young quarterback look against other young quarterbacks? Do I need to make a move, right? If he comes in and looks better than Caleb Williams and looks better than Anthony Richardson and competes with Justin Herbert or looks better than him, you're going to feel really good about where you are. But if he comes into these games and Caleb Williams is already outclassing him, Anthony Richardson looks explosive, Justin Herbert is dominating him with a new head coach and a better system there, and then he doesn't look good against Jaden Daniels, you're going to start to say, all right, everybody else has young quarterbacks, and ours isn't as good as them. So I think these are the 4 games I'm most interested. They're not necessarily Super Bowl type opponents, right? You should be able to compete against them. I'm not throwing you against the 49ers in that defense, right? The Bears. Not saying they're a bad team, but they're not a playoff team last season. Colts, not a playoff team last season. Chargers, not a playoff team last season, right? These are games where you need to be able to prove yourself against, these are reasonable games to win. You have a chance here. We're not putting you against the Super Bowl, champion Chiefs. If you can beat the Bears, you beat the Colts, you beat the Chargers, beat the Commanders. Now, I think the Chargers, most of us would agree, have always been, kind of the expectation was a playoff run. But last couple seasons hasn't really panned out, mostly because of coaching issues rather than personnel. So that's going to be a tough game. But new coach, right? First-year head coach. How does your coach match up against Jim Harbaugh? I think these are the four most important games, not necessarily because they're going to have major impacts on the playoffs, but because they're going to be solid tests against reasonable opponents that you should be able to compete with and who are in similar situations as the Titans are. New quarterbacks, new coaches. Those four games, got to prove yourself. If the coach is getting outclassed in all of these games, maybe he's the wrong fit. Quarterback getting outclassed, maybe he's the wrong fit. These are good tests, and I do think they've surrounded Will Levis with enough talent. They brought in Calvin Ridley, brought in Tony Pollard. Yes, you lose Derrick Henry, but Tony Pollard's been a productive back, and you can find some other running backs in the league. And let's be honest, Derrick Henry didn't have the most productive season last year either, right? But that offense should be able to play at a pretty high level. And, hopefully the defense can play a little better. Again, they brought in some new pieces. You got a new head coach. A lot of new going on. But so do those four teams. And those four teams are going to let you know, is Will Levis the guy? Is the coach the right hire? As a Bengals fan, I'm not sure he's the right hire. Sometimes when you have a really solid offensive head coach, I wonder a little bit about the offensive coordinators. This is really kind of the first Zach Taylor coaching tree kind of person to come out of Cincinnati. So how will he fare? I'm not sure. I don't think the offense was incredible last season in Cincinnati, but they also had injuries with Joe Burrow. And he did get Jake Browning, who, kid out of Washington, not highly rated as a prospect. They had a winning season, with Burrow out a lot, and Jake Browning looked pretty good. So he does have that experience with young quarterbacks, and hopefully that can help. That, I think, was the key for the Titans. They said, we want a quarterback whisperer, so to speak. And so they bring him in. How can he develop Will Levis? That will be the key. And I think those four games, Week 1, Week 6, Week 10, Week 13, those are the games to watch to see the real tests against his peers, both for the coach and for the quarterback. How do they do? That's what I'm thinking. Titans fans, how you feeling? Are you on the Will Levis train? I don't feel like he's had a noisy offseason or anything. Don't feel like we're talking about it enough. This is one of the new quarterbacks. We're all infatuated with all the quarterbacks, rookies that got drafted, right? Your Bo Nixes, Caleb Williams, Michael Penix, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, all these guys. I think we're forgetting a little bit about Will Levis, who's kind of coming into his almost rookie season, right? His first full season as a starter. How is he going to look? Let me know what your thoughts are on the Titans down below, and we'll see you tomorrow.